Hi,
Hello, how are
hi, nice to
you?
see you.
Hi, I'm Alexis Rai. I'm the Director of Digital for African Fashion Foundation. How are you?
I'm fine, Alexis. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for your patience. My sincere
Oh, come
apologies.
on, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yes. So, how's your day been?
I beg your pardon?
How has your day been?
The day has been good so far. I am in Geneva. I am in my office in Geneva. With these problems in traveling, I am here in Geneva. I'm stuck in Geneva.
For sure, for sure. So,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what started you on your journey with ethical fashion.
So we started several years ago. Initially, it was, I used to work in the industry and I used to work on the side of the leather and shoe industry, and I used to go a lot in Asia. So to stay a lot there, to spend a lot of time in Asia. And in 2002, I was asked by a UN agency to go to Kenya to prepare a position paper on the industry, on the leather and shoe industry of Kenya, and on how to revitalize it. And initially I refused because I said, hey, I'm an Asian. I work in Asia. And said, no, you've got to go because we need your kind of expertise. I used to build service centers, training centers, and factories, and to do this kind of stuff. So uh, I went, and when I was there, I ended up, because of some friends, in a shanty town, in a slum, which was called, it's still called Korogocho in Nairobi, just outside Nairobi, not far from Thika Road. And it was a place where 120,000 people lived. And there was a guy there, a missionary, whose mission was that of creating jobs. He used to live in there, in the shanty town, like a local dweller, like everybody else, working with people. And the guy told me, here you have some fantastic artisans. Come on. No, no, you have fantastic artisans. So I went around to see these artisans with him. And I found a group of shoemakers. And we said, why don't we try to make shoes in here for the local market? And I got passionate about that. So I started going regularly. And then I also accepted a position with the UN to go to live in Ethiopia and to work in Ethiopia because I was close to Kenya and I was close to there. So Friday evening, when I closed the office in Ethiopia, I used to take a flight and to fly to Nairobi and to stay there with these shoemakers and with other people to work together over the weekend. So when the moment came, I realized that this was a huge potential in terms of artisanal work and in terms of different fashion made by people, for people, with the hands of people. It was already 2007, years had passed. And in the meantime, I had moved from that agency of the UN to another agency where I still am, still, which is ITC, the International Trade Center. And I came here in Geneva and I told them, guys, I've got an idea. The idea is to set up a thing on ethical fashion. It's proven by this experience. And then in the meantime, we had involved other artisans and we had created other lines of work. And they said, let's try. So we tried together, we expanded this. And then in 2009, we built our first social enterprise in Kenya, which was based in the Go Down Arts Center of Nairobi, a beautiful space which is still there. It's a space for the arts. So not by chance, artisans and the arts and fashion and all that. I remember once Vivienne Westwood came to visit us because Vivienne Westwood became almost from the very beginning our best customer and super partner. And Vivienne came to visit with all her team to do product development, but also to do a photo shoot. And I remember Vivienne photo shooting in there with the street dancers, with acrobats. It was an incredible. And then there were drum players. It was an incredible experience. So this is how it came together. This is how it was born.
Okay. Now, given your past experience and then looking at where we are in the state of the fashion industry and trying to be more conscious in our production, would you say that Africa does have a leadership stance in the ethical era and the ethical movement?
I do not know if it has a leadership in the ethical movement, but what I know for sure is that the post-COVID, the world after COVID will remain a globalized world, but global supply chains will be restructured. We'll have more of regional supply chains, and Africa is well positioned to have some role in this new world of supply chains. It's a supply chain that is connected to Africa itself, and to the reach, to its market, but then to Europe, and then that is positioned in the world, and with also a penchant for innovation, to innovate in the area of the ethical sphere, because you still have a lot of artisans. Unfortunately, you have a lot of informal businesses, so a lot of need of investment to enable these people to formalize their business and to get the business to acceptable for them formal conditions. You have designers, you have an incredible richness of design and creative capacities. What I have witnessed in these many years of presence in all across Africa, from Western Africa to Eastern Africa, is the abundance of creative capacities. We run a small program, which is small, which is an interesting program, which is called The Opportunities Are Here, in which we brainstorm and we enable young creative people, young entrepreneurs to think about their future in business in Africa. And the amount of creativity you see there is incredible. So this fact that the global supply chain is being restructured, that new regional supply chains will emerge, that Africa may play a role in that there is abundance of manual work capacities, yes, to be structured, to be improved as conditions, working conditions and all the rest, that there is huge creativity, and that there is an emerging, very strong fashion scene and fashion market. The street fashion you see around in some places is incredible, but also the kind of fashion scene, and it's always been there. It's more visible now, thanks also to the incredible contribution, I think, of Nollywood. Nollywood has done an incredible contribution to this. We collaborate a lot with Dakore, the great star of Nollywood. She's incredible. In these days, she spoke to a group of young designers we are mentoring in an accelerator we have, young designers from all over the continent. And she's been incredible. She's energized them. She's incredible. But the contribution of Nollywood, the contribution of music, the contribution of the social media. You have a lot of influencers. I've seen guys of 18 with 500,000 followers in Nigeria. So this is an incredible contribution to that. So there was already an important fashion scene. I remember that decades ago, somebody told me that the best market for Valentino, the brand, the La Maison de Mode, the best market for Valentino Couture was Nigeria, the first one. So it's always been there. But now, thanks to all these factors, social media, Nollywood, music, and this creativity, it's growing also as a fashion scene, as a market, and all the rest. And then the role of the diaspora. The diaspora plays a role. Sometimes, every now and then, I go to the places of the diaspora, be it in Matonge, in Brussels, or in Chateau Rouge, Le 18e, in Paris. And what you see there is incredible. but also in New York. What you see around is incredible. Once I was in Chateau Rouge to see another thing, and I saw a shop with the Faso Damfani, the kind of fabric that we also produce in Burkina Faso, manually woven. So I went in, and I went in to speak about Faso Damfani, and it was fun because the guy, the owner of the shop, is also a couturier. So the guy was making couture using the fabric also made by us. He had also purchased fabric from our places, and we didn't know each other. And he does a lot to spread the awareness of African fashion in there. So much so that with the Ethical Fashion Initiative, we are also thinking about a street fashion festival of African fashion with the diaspora and African designers in Paris in the next year. We have to see what happens with the coronavirus. So these are all, sorry, I put together many things, but I'm passionate about that.
Absolutely. So just to speak a little bit about your experience on the continent, outside of your work with the artisans, can you tell me a fond memory that you have of being immersed in the African culture?
I have many beautiful experiences. First of all, the experience of seeing women, you know, the 90%, 85, 88% of our beneficiaries, of the people who work with us, are women. And so the first experience is always to see the engagement of women and the way in which their achievements trickle down to the family, to the community, to society. You go to a place, we work in very marginalized settings. We don't work in the good places. I mean, where you have regular business, there's full of that all across the continent, but we work in very marginalized settings. So in these kind of settings, the beautiful thing that you see is how the work that you bring about and that those people do, because it's thanks to them, we are just facilitators. This changes the shape of the community. You see housing changing, you see schooling, you see healthcare, you see sanitation, you see it, you touch it. And you, in my experiences, I remember when we first saw the natural dyes in Western Africa, and we first saw the way in which these natural dyes are applied on fabric with prints and so on, the Bogolan in Mali, and also natural dyes just for the fabric, it was astonishing. I remember the first time I've seen indigo with Abubakar Fofana, who is an artist, an international artist. It's been mind-blowing. I remember the first products that we made, the first mass order that we processed in Kenya for a distributor in Italy. It was 300,000 tote bags, and each tote, it was in cotton, and each tote bag had on one side screen printed the story of the bag and the maker of the bag and all the rest. And on the other side, they had different decorations in order to use all the skills available. So some bags had embroidery, some bags had beadwork, some other had crochet and so on. And I remember the first container. It was, if I remember well, six or eight containers of bags. But I remember filling up the first container and seeing the first container that was leaving the place with all the artisans clapping their hands and celebrating. That was moving to see this. Or I remember another thing we had, because in those days we didn't have, like today, workshops and offices and factories and all that. We didn't have anything. So we established our workshops everywhere. And I remember putting them wherever it was possible. So I remember arriving to a compound outside Nairobi, and we needed to set up some facility there because there was a lot of informal artisans who wanted to work, but we didn't have a place. So we went in, we saw a church, and we asked the local pastor, hey, do you have a space for us? And the guy said, I've got the church, work in the church. It's the best way to glorify God. And so we set up shop in there. And then in the church they were stitching and screen printing, and then we used to put all the bags outside after screen printing to dry in the sun. There was a huge laundry line, very long laundry line, very long, with all these bags. So other artisans passed by and came, and in Swahili, you know, they were coming. Iko kazi hapa, is there work here? Iko, there is coming. And so that was another incredible experience. No, you see all this laundry bag, which was like a signpost saying there is work here. People coming to work. People coming to work. People wanted to work, and that was another bit. But I have many of these stories.
For sure, for sure. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I have one more question for you. You mentioned investment and you mentioned structure for the creatives to be able to elevate and actually create some scalable impact. But is there any other component that you think you could share that would be vital to help the creatives really get a hold on the expansion that they're seeking to experience? And especially with the world changing and the economy changing a bit, what do you foresee would be a component that you think would help them to leverage this time better?
So one key component is credit, is finance, so that they have the possibility to finance their business, and credit is still difficult in many places. Access to credit is difficult. Young businesses do not have collaterals, and that's why we are there, because with our structure and with our things we may support that, but there is the need for more, for much more, and so also a banking culture based on supporting projects, supporting businesses, supporting vision, a culture of business mentors, of angel investors also, because at the very beginning, given the difficulty to access credit, you need angel investors, and you need equity partners, and all this. Debt is still very difficult because debt is expensive in the continent. It's very expensive. Bank credit, it's much more expensive than in Europe. You go here to get a mortgage, you get less than 1% interest rate, but it's not the same in other settings. And another one is the public infrastructure, transport, customs. The customs, there are custom unions, so things would be simple, should be simple, but they're not. You have problems at customs, delays, and a lot of other things, also bad things. There's a movie shot by an African director. I saw this movie at the Ouagadougou Film Festival, the FESPACO, the African Film Festival, which is fantastic. And there was this movie, Frontier, Borders. And it's about informal traders, or women, who cross borders to go to sell their things. At a certain moment, they quarrel with the custom officer, and they say, hey, but there is a custom union. Why do you want me to do this, to do that, to pay duty? There is a custom union. I think this movie is emblematic. And then the transport situation. If I ship the fabric, if I have to ship the fabric of the dye making Burkina to Kenya, where we make, a partner of ours makes bags, sometimes it's easier to ship it to Paris and then from Paris to Kenya. And that's another issue. That's another important issue. So credit, banking, investment, angel investors, and on the other side, infrastructure, customs, and transport. These are important things that could really make the difference in the future of the African fashion industry.
I absolutely agree. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Cipriani. We thank you for everything. Thank you for everything you're contributing to the industry, and we look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Look forward to seeing you in our beloved Africa.
Yes, very soon, very soon.
Very soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much indeed. Now I'll try to, oh, here I am. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Stay tuned for our next digital discussion.